Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session number 7. The topic is share their learning experiences from the conference from the student panelists. And for this session, I would like to welcome Professor Kaveri Gill to be the chairperson for this session. And sorry. Yeah. Over to you. Sorry.
Thank you, Gulmohar. So good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank my teacher, Venerable Geshe Dorji Dandula, who, I'm a student in the Masters that he teaches, so that's my introduction, and also Professor Cecil Roy G for this opportunity. So I'm going to take exactly 3 minutes and try to set out what I heard yesterday, and of course that's going to be dependently originated, and what I heard this morning as well. So I think the discussion here has focused on, it's been a wonderful conference with really very sophisticated panels. And having attended a few of these organized by Tibet House in the last few years, I would say that what is noticeable this time is that really each person from different disciplines tried to speak to the theme and present a common understanding, because obviously there's a lot of specialist knowledge. So there was discussion about the nature of ontological reality versus epistemological reality for different disciplines. There was then an emphasis of investigation in different disciplines. So on ontological reality in physics, on epistemological reality in neuroscience and in psychology, and largely on epistemological reality or the inner world of mind in Buddhism, although there is, both when you consider Tantra as well as Buddhist philosophy. The purpose of the study, of course, differs between these various disciplines. And this question of subject versus object. Are they related for different disciplines? Are they dependent and even mutually constituted for some schools? Or are they independent? Is there an object without a subject or an observer, to use the language of physics? And within the Buddhist tradition itself, to what different degrees do various schools accept and reject objective existence versus subjective existence? And something that has come up in a lot of the Buddhist presentations, to what degree does appearance accord with the mode of existence and reality? So there was that discussion. Some of the commonalities and divergences, I think we heard about classical physics versus quantum and quantum mechanics and quantum physics, and quite a few open-ended questions on determinism, local causality, and free will. And I'm sorry if I misinterpreted, I don't have any background knowledge of physics. What constitutes valid investigation and evidence for different disciplines? And I think this is very important, because for modern science or scientific investigation, I think the parameters are one of replicability under statistical controlled environment, experimental conditions. And in the case of Buddhism, there is also very sophisticated systems of logic, debate, reasoning, analysis, but also crucially experiential evidence. So as the Genla from the previous presentation said, just because I have not experienced something does not mean it doesn't exist. And I have read quite often His Holiness himself has said this, that quantum physics most closely approximates the Chittamatra view, and Pujala spoke about that this morning, that everything is the nature of the mind, not it is the mind. And yesterday the question of Acharya Dharmakriti's ideas came up, and I think that school accepts objective existence and equates it with existence itself, and also understands dependent arising in a certain way, the first level of dependent origination. The higher schools, which was explained again in Pujala's presentation, and the other ones, the middle way autonomous, take it a degree further and might accept the second degree of dependent origination as well. And the highest Buddhist school of the consequentialists or Prasangika Madhyamika, and their names came up yesterday, Acharya Nagarjuna, Acharya Chandrakriti, Acharya Shantideva, Arya Deva, and many others, reject any degree of objective existence whatsoever. Everything exists as mere mental imputation, so based on labeling and conceptual designation. And therefore, we go to the third and subtlest level of dependent origination here. There was discussion of the two truths and also the analogy in physics and then being mutually exclusive, but something that exists for every single phenomena. And I will end today is a very special teacher's anniversary, a masterful scholar of the 14th century, Lama Tsongkhapa. So I will here just put out three things that he has set out as, conditions for conventional existence. So to those who might pose a question to the Prasangika Madhyamikas or high school, that if it is the case that there's no objective existence, then what might be the difference between imputing a snake on a coil of rope or a snake on a snake? His answer would be to set out three beautiful and succinct conditions. And with that, I will end because there's a panel of 6 other students. So I think the rules are going to be that, 4 minutes and I press the bell, which I hate doing. And then you have another minute after that. And thank you so much again. Wonderful conference. So our first speaker will be Ms. Tanzin Latha.
Very warm good afternoon to everyone here. On this very auspicious day, Kavila just told us that about Tsongkhapa, it's called Galtan Namchot. And then I want to wish you all happy Galtan Namchot. And then I'm from Ladakh, and then in Ladakh, today is the beginning of our new year, which is called Happy Losar. So I want to wish you all Happy New Year also. And then I feel very fortunate, very lucky to speak, to share my experience for this conference, to start with this new year, on this new year. And I really want to thank Kishadur Damdullah and the Northern Tibet House for giving me this opportunity to share my experience for this 2 days conference. First, to tell you about my background, that I have just done my graduation in Bachelor in Science. And then from very long time, I used to hear about this, that His Holiness Dalai Lama is very active everywhere to meet all the scientists, all the neuroscience, to bring about the parallel, to study the contribution from each other. And then that really surprised me to see, and then I really also wanted to really see some parallel between them. And then I just started my Buddhist philosophy so that I can also do something about this, that how to correlate, how to understand these things all together. So this conference actually was so helpful to me to see some kind of parallel together, and then how these things can come under one umbrella, and then to give us much more exposure, exposure. And then yesterday, one of the speaker that I think Professor Pathakji was saying that, telling us about who is a good teacher, what is good teacher. Then he was saying that a teacher who can convince a student, if not convince, then at least confuse the student, right? So actually, all the speakers has actually put it as in a very confusing way. It was so, it was very deep thing that to understand each and everything within these 2 days. But at the same time, it was so good that the good news was that at least I was exposed to some of the very new topics, some of the very new concepts that I could just go home and then search about it, look about it, that how it can correlate about it. So it was really helpful and in future also, to do the further studies, it will be so helpful to see in such concepts to bring about. Thank you so much for that. And then also, Geshe Ngawangla was saying about that if you study emptiness and quantum physics, and then if it's not shock you, then like shock you for a while, then you have not understood it. Then to be true, a bit of it, like actually it awestruck, it actually shook of us that how it can be so contrary to our reality, how we think, how the reality can be in such a different way, and then all the scholars, all the speakers from the physicist view, from the neuroscience view, from the Buddhist philosopher view, they have showed the different ways of seeing the reality, right? And then how, according to physics, that how it can be in quantum physics and relativity, that like how to see in micro world and how to primarily explain in macro world, and then from Buddhist perspective view, that how it can come into parallel and see about the conventional truth that we have and the ultimate truth in the only one object, to see that. And then from here, we can also take out so many experience, so many messages in our daily life also, that to see that how yesterday everyone was, today also, that Buddhist philosophy main concept to know the reality, that it is not objectively existent, it is all coming from the subjectively. And then I think it's like actually ease us, so many of us, that when we think about that, like everything is coming from mind, and then like we can actually in daily life, wherever anything happens, crisis or stress, we can really think of it, and then it will be so helpful for us, I think. At last, I just want to thank each and everyone for the opportunity. And then to be true, it is for these 2 days, it was so hard to fathom all the profound teachings, but at least we got something and then also exposures. And thank you so much.
I now invite Mr. Adarsh Lama.
Good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, I'm very much thankful to the Gesela and House for giving me such opportunity to make me present in this such kind of program. I really felt happy for creating the privilege for being part of such a big programs. I was really enlightening. It was really enlightening events for me. But whatever I understood, I want to present that in a very simple, very common, in a very common thought. So going back to the points, what I understood from big lectures presented here is that two. What? First, scientific approach is materialistic approach. Means all the universal bodies must be functioning by a subtle particles, and that is also a matter. Plus, all humans and animal behavior is also operating by physical entities. And second, a Buddhist approach is the phenomena of physical approach is the phenomena of physical bodies, and animal or human behavior is functioning by non-material entity. Non-material entity means what we understand in a very loose sense as a mind or consciousness. It was really a great statement from two sides. When I go close to scientific approach, then I find that matter can hear matter, matter can taste matter, matter can see matter, matter can experience matter, and finally matter is also responsible for non-material behavior like thoughts, consciousness. And from the Buddhist approach, non-matter entities can hear matter, non-matter entities can hear non-matter, example dreams, non-matter entities can see matter, non-matter entities can see non-matter, like example dream. Likewise, non-matter entities can experience matter, non-matter entities can experience non-matter. And finally, non-matter entities is also responsible for non-material behavior like thoughts and consciousness. Now I ask the questions to myself, why we are so much keen on ontological reality, why we are actually looking for what we will do if the ultimate reality is in our hand. Of course, individual-wise, there may be innumerable answers of these questions, but whether it is true or not, one of them must be searching for benefit. Now the question is, benefit of what and for what? I think this benefit must be for oneself or for the global benefit. If we take it granted positively, otherwise, one may wish to become omniscient or so much powerful and to dominate the world. Another point, what I want to say is, of course, such kind of knowledge sharing on the quest of reality may have been going since many centuries, and how long it will go, we don't know. We don't know when the people of different fields will argue on the same answer of the same quest. For that matter, what I conclude here is that the byproduct of both scientific and religious approach of reality, they are being beneficial for the welfare of people and society. Very important thing is, let they do not be misused. Whenever there comes a word of misuse, my mind quickly divert and asks the question, who and why misuse? Whether or not it must be because of our mental behavior, irrespective of their nature of origin. Now, is it possible to tame our mental behavior until finding the quest of reality? But to how extent we can tame? Is it just to relaxation level, or we may extend it beyond that? For me, the answer of both questions is unknown. Now, finally, I want to quote from the statement given by His Holiness the Dalai Lama on 18 December 2017 in Jiangsu Chogyam Monastery in Karnataka. He said that there is no end of education. The purpose is to discipline the mind. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to begin by thanking Venerable Geshe Dorje Dandula and the Tibet House staff for giving me this opportunity to share my learnings and the wonderful experience I've had over the past 2 days at this conference. Immense learning and many aha moments that I think I will take with me and I will keep exploring. Briefly about my background, I am a student of literature. So I recently completed my MA in literature from Ashoka University, and I'm also an online student of the Nalanda Master's course at Tibet House. So basically, I have a background in humanities, and even though I come from a university that emphasizes a liberal education, a great emphasis on multidisciplinarity, even there, I would say that the English department or the physics department will never come together and have a conference like this. Perhaps they might invite a history professor to talk about the history of science, as long as they don't challenge their fundamental presuppositions, go back to the 17th century and whatever. So I think that we live in an increasingly multidisciplinary world. Like we said, there are fields like bioethics coming up, and just like Professor Dr. Joseph, I know someone who is trained as a doctor and now is studying philosophy, both Western as well as Eastern, to integrate that learning and take it forward into their practice, because the world is getting increasingly complex. So I think that's why I think this conference has been radical in more than one way. There's firstly, it tries to overcome that supposedly deep theoretical divide that exists between the two, or rather three disciplines, in their frameworks. And it makes us aware not only of the commonalities in terms of aims, if not, say, methods of inquiry, empirical versus introspection. So, and after these 2 days, I've realized that there are many things about these various traditions, various disciplines that are complementary to each other. As was very well highlighted in the presentation of Dr. Mehta, who talked about the importance of changing our behavior as well as third person input in diagnosing the various sorts of mental disorders which are increasingly on the rise, especially in the youth. So that's why I think it's really important to see both of these in a holistic light and as complementary to each other, as opposed to two disciplines having very different theoretical frameworks who cannot speak with each other. I think that while some people might have been surprised by the extremely sophisticated system of logic that Buddhist philosophy has, those from the humanities side, like me, have also appreciated the fact that science, neuroscience, cognitive science, etc., are increasingly opening up to various considered in the past as unconventional methods, studying meditation and other forms of epistemology to widen their horizon. And also I would like to talk about the lack of hierarchy that exists in the conventional versus the ultimate truth. That is something that I found really fascinating, that they're both important for our well-being, to keep both of them in mind. Otherwise, we can have all these disorders that some of the speakers talked about. So I think it was really helpful, and personally, I'm happy that I can sound a bit more convincing to my more empirically minded friends when I talk to them about Buddhism and give them all these, studies to back up my claims. As well as, for me personally, it's also helped me stretch the bounds of my intellect, because now I can go back and, perhaps pick up this book on quantum mechanics that I impulsively bought a year ago at a book fair. But I was so scared because I opened and, all the lambda and phi, it really scared me. But now I think I have some sense of, superposition and decoherence, although I need to flesh those topics out. But personally, I think that if I study more and more, perhaps in my own research and literature in the future, I can employ quantum mechanics, as radical as that sounds right now, but who knows? So I think we're at the helm of another paradigm shift, as Thomas Kuhn said, and I feel very privileged to be a part of this ongoing discussion. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I have a very small point I want to share with the conference. My talk is inspired by the talk of Geshe Lojidamdam. It's about subjective experience and free will. So I think many people talk from Buddhist philosophy, but from Nalanda tradition and from for school. I think I should give some talk from Theravada Buddhism. I have some of the quotes from this. We know that early Buddhism focuses more about existential approach and about soteriological approach. So talk less about ontology or metaphysics. So Buddha in the Pali tradition, especially in the Samyutta Nikaya, he taught us he claimed, it's not my claim, but he claimed that we cannot find out where is the end of the world. What is the final entity of the phenomenal existence by looking for eternal objects. But he says, within the very five aggregates, it means the form, sensation, perception, mental formation, consciousness. Within these five aggregates, we can declare the origin of the world, the operation and cessation of the world. He also claimed in another sutta I want to quote, in Sabba Sutta, the sutta about all, about everything, about all phenomena. He says, monk, I will teach you the all. Listen and pay close attention. I will speak. As you say, Lord, the monk responded. The Blessed One says, what is the all? Simply the eye and form, ear and sound, nose and aromas, tongue and flavors, body and tactile sensation, intellect and idea. It's been everything is in our six sense objects and relation with six subjective sense and six objective sense. So he says, this monk is called the all. If anyone who says, repudiating it all, I will describe another. If question on what exactly may be the ground for his statement, he could unable to explain, and furthermore, it could be put into the grief, the suffering. Why? Because it lies beyond the range of human experience. So, the teaching is civilized. There are no mystic thing, there are no supernatural event, element. Everything already appears in the world. Appear without six sense object. Appear without six subjective. So I want to quote another passage in Visuddhimagga of Buddha Gosha, the path of purification. He says, there are no actor behind action, no choosers behind the choices, no decider behind decision, no thinker behind the thought, no seer behind seeing. So all phenomena is already appear with us, appear with our subjective experience. So what he says is, we can decide our life, we can decide our way of life, and everything is suffering or happiness depend on the way our life in the earth. It depends on the way we think the world. Thank you.
Mr. Hansen, lecture? Not here, so then Mr. Yashmita.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for keeping my name at the last, because these 5-10 minutes are very essential in the life of a student. When he gets to know, he has to scribble down everything and needs to organize something. So thank you for that. So I would like to start thanking Keshadarji Damdula and Tibet House and everyone who was there. I was a student of plant sciences. I did my bachelor's in botany honors from Hindu College, Delhi University. Then due to some issues, I had some problems. Then I had to change my field, and now I'm a student of comparative studies and philosophy at Jamia Millia Islamia. This is the third conference of this sort which I'm attending. The first was in 2016. when it was about Nagarjuna's philosophy of emptiness, which Tibet House organized. When for the first time I met Professor Shishir Roy was there, and I think what I could relate with this conference is there is a concept. I was recently reading an article which my professor Annie in my department. We were discussing about the science of hermeneutics and the concept of etic and emic, that is an insider and an outsider view, which are very important when you are doing any field in human sciences. I think I could relate this conference because Geshe-la and Tibet House and the physics fraternity and the neuroscientists, I think they are moving beyond their own that emic point of view, the insider point of view, and bringing the comparative analysis, which is very, the characteristic of an etic point of view is that there has to be comparative analysis. If you're doing something for just for your own sake, I think that if you just limit it to that, I think that doesn't serve the purpose. So in that article which I was reading recently, there this term etic and emic was coined by a linguistic Pike, and he presented 3 views in that paper, 2 of an anthropologist and 1 of a philosopher. So there one anthropologist was trying to authoritize and prioritize the insider's view. He said that until unless an insider say yes to something, a researcher, a scientist who is saying something, unless they say yes to it, it has no significance. The philosopher, on the other hand, said that there is always a great divide between an insider and outsider, and you cannot think, that can be overcome. But the third person, he talked about the concept of degree. Like there is always a concept of distant. There is always a concept of experience near and experience distant concept. So I think we all should take this conference from that point of view, that we should understand, because these 3 words which are very essential in the study of hermeneutics also, that you should understand, interpret and explain. So understanding is very important. Understanding, see, humans are also, we are also like an open book, right? We are open to interpretation. So all these philosophies, these are, I'm not saying that whether they have an answer. Yesterday one of the speakers said that just because it is mentioned, let's say in some scripture, I'll not name that, we should not take it. Some people, they go a stream and say that it's mentioned there, it's because of this. I think you should, if it is mentioned, then we should come up with how to interpret it, in a seeing the wider scale. That's all. And as Geshe-la has always said that it's about familiarization, right? You have to familiarize yourself with something which you do not know. And I think these 2 days would have given a lot to think over. You cannot become master in just 2 days because these are very detailed topics. So definitely, I think we all are going to learn more and take some more message to them. Thank you.
Wonderful. So thank you to all the speakers. Wonderful maintenance of time. We are not very good at that in India. So thank you so much to the audience.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to request Professor P.K. Roy to felicitate our chairperson with a souvenir and the students with the certificates. Professor Kaveri. Venerable Amba. Ms. Tenzin Nadu. Mr. Adarsh Lama. Ms. Sushmita Sevak. Mr. Yash Timanji. We'll take a group picture with the professor. Thank you very much. The next session will resume after 5 minutes. Please be seated. Thank you.
Which is on comparative studies of ultimate reality in Buddhist philosophy and modern physics. To speak on this session, may I please invite on stage Venerable Geshe Dorje Damdullah, the Director of Tibet House. And to accompany on this session, we have Chairperson, Professor N. Mukunda from INSA Bangalore. So please come on the dais and take your seat. So I don't think I need to say any further. I'll request Professor Mukunda to take the session. Okay, it's working.
Good afternoon and welcome to this session number 8. Fortunately, it is a session where there is no need for a note from the chairperson. So, I am also very keen to listen to our speaker as quickly as possible. So, I will just say it's a privilege for me to chair this session with you as the speaker. May I invite Geshe Damdul to speak on the topic which has already been announced. I'd like to say it again. Comparative studies of ultimate reality in Buddhist philosophy and modern physics. Just one word, one few words. I think that a physicist today would not think of ultimate reality. We don't know. We just have to keep exploring. There may not be an ultimate reality. So let us see.
Okay, good afternoon, every one of you. Respected Chair, Professor Mugundaji, and all the participants here. It is a great joy for me to be with you here to inquire into the ultimate reality from the point of view of the quantum physics and Buddhist philosophy. So when we speak about ultimate reality, say what quantum physicists they're trying to explore, what they're trying to explore, and Buddhist philosophy, what they're trying to explore, and what exactly does it mean by ultimate reality. So these are the questions that we need to keep in mind. And so here, what is very important is ultimate reality. When you speak of one thing that we need to keep in mind is that when you speak about ultimate reality, so what constitutes, what is there
what is there besides, behind what I see. I see one thing, that may be the truth, or there may be the truth behind that. So this is what the quantum physicists are trying to explore, and this is what the Buddhist philosophers, and not only Buddhist philosophers, all the philosophers, whether the Vedantic philosophers, Western philosophers, Nyaya philosopher, and Samkhya philosopher, non-Tibetan philosopher, all philosophers, they try to explore that. And in fact, it would be very fascinating that even the Christian philosophers, they are great, brilliant Christian philosophers, they really dare to ask what is behind what we are seeing, what is behind what is in the books, what is in the holy books. Okay, these are the inquiries. This is a very courageous step to go there. So with this in mind, I'd just like to share with you one incident that happened in Cambridge when I was there in 2003. There was one physicist, a brilliant physicist, amazing brilliant physicist, and if he did not go too extreme, he's a brilliant physicist. So he was not even, in the first place, he was not even ready to talk to me. Oh, you are a religious person. And then finally, through a common friend, we started to have some exchange, and then the interaction went to such extent that it was already 12 midnight, still two of us we were discussing, and he was not letting it go. Okay, so then our host finally told very diplomatically, told both of us that okay, now two of you can stop here. He wanted to kick two of us out of his house. So we two of us left, and then he said, okay, Dorji, we'll have more discussions later. I'd like to invite you for a dinner. So again, he invited me for a dinner, and then we had a discussion with him. And then on the dinner table, what he said was that okay, in this world, only physics is education. Okay, luckily there are many physicists here. Then I said, okay, I don't know, because he's so extreme and very sharp. So I said, why? He said, because only physics allows you to have a critical thinking. All others are imitations of the earlier teachers. This is what he said. And then I said, okay, if this is the reason, please just hold on for a while and listen to what the Buddha has to say. Then I said, the Buddha said, the wise men, the bhikshus, just as goldsmith tests the purity of the gold by cutting, rubbing, and burning the gold, you should also examine my words and put them to practice, not simply because you respect me. Then he remained silent for a few seconds, and he said, oh, the Buddha must have been a great physicist. Okay, so this is the quote there, what the Buddha said. So this is a very important point. It is encouraging us not to impose our thoughts, not to impose our thinking on the reality. Explore the reality independent of your subjective, let's say, the presuppositions. Just discard all presuppositions and then explore what the reality is there. So this is so important, and luckily this is the approach which the modern science, quantum physics, Buddhist philosophy, they do both employ the same method, looking for the reality, not bringing in your subjective impositions. Okay, so this invariably leads us to the next question. Why objectivity is considered so important? Objectivity is emphasized in Buddhist philosophy and quantum physics. Why? This is so important. Objectivity meaning that don't bring in any philosophical view from your side. Don't bring in anything, or the Buddha said it, or the Einstein said it, or Niels Bohr said it. Don't bring any of these thoughts, and whatever the information they provided, just subject them to analysis and do your own analysis more to see what is beyond what you see, whether or not there's something beyond. Don't think that there's something beyond. Don't think that what you see is the reality. So there, the need for the objectivity, that is so much emphasized. Now the question is, why do we have to be so objective? This is the question. So the physicists would say that, okay, so I want to know reality. So what I'm seeing may not be reality. I want to know the reality. Okay, beyond that, I'm not sure. There are so many physicists here, you can probably ask them. Because I remember 2008 or the early 2009, Professor Anton Zelenker, a world-renowned quantum physicist, when he was in Dharamsala there, now we had a wonderful exchange. And I asked a number of questions on quantum physics to him, and it was a wonderful exchange. And then I invited him, it was in the Palace of His Holiness in Toledano, and then he was asking me, okay, seems like we have many questions on quantum physics, ask me. I said, then no, this is the Palace of His Holiness, we are not supposed to be sitting here for too long, this is security issues there, so we have to get out, and two of us will come to, well, why not go to my house. I invited him to my house for a cup of tea, and then we again had a lot of questions and the sessions there. So there, one journalist, Newsweek journalist, my friend, he asked him, you are such a world-renowned physicist, and you have been exploring all these realities. Tell me finally, what is the purpose of that? So the question is objectivity. Why do we need to have the objectivity? So there, he said that it makes me happy to be objective, to know the reality, then to discover the more subtle reality. It makes me happy. Okay, this is generally speaking, the physicists would be happy to explore the reality. Whereas in Buddhism, Buddhist philosophy, there you explore the reality for another purpose. Not just that I'm happy that I've discovered something. There's a deeper reality. What's the reality? That finally nobody wants suffering. This is the reality. Nobody wants suffering. And the Buddha very clearly indicated that all these sufferings, the root cause, what underscores all these sufferings is ignorance. So unless you know the reality, ignorance is always bound to grab you, and then you will never be free from suffering. Okay, so this is what the Buddha said. Enlightened one does not worsen negativities of the beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hands. His spiritual realizations are not transferred to them. It's by teaching the truth of the reality. So I deliberately put it in red. The truth of the reality that the beings are liberated. Only through letting the beings discover the truth, the reality, which is more than what your mind superimpose. By knowing this, then your problems will be solved. Okay, so then the question is, if this is the purpose, this purpose is known as soteriological purpose. The purpose with a greater meaning, not only just that I'm immediately gratified. I feel gratified at this moment because of discovering something else. More than that, it is to really quell all the miseries, to bring the miseries to the zero. Okay, what is this reality then? So then the quantum physics, they come up with their presentation, and the Buddhist philosophers, they come with their presentation. So the truth, ontological reality, what is the truth out there? This is what is known as ontological reality. So the point is that in both cases, quantum physicists as well as the Buddhist philosophers will say that, or not only Buddhist philosophers, as I said earlier, it is what many of the philosophers from the different traditions, they all say the same point, that don't trust our perceptions. Don't trust our perceptions. What we see doesn't necessarily reflect the reality. So, what we see is something so objectively real, something so solidly there. If I ask each one of us, if I ask you to look at the person sitting next to you, okay, why don't you look at the person sitting next to you? Just quickly look at the person sitting next to you. Don't be too serious. Look at that person. Hey. Okay, many of you are smiling. I did not ask you to smile, but you're smiling. Okay, look. When you look at the other person, it makes you smile. And tell me, when the person appeared to you, how did the person appear to you? Did the person appear to you as though like your mind is projecting it, or it is solidly there and from the object it is coming to you? Which are the two ways the person appeared to you? Tell me. From the object or from the subject? From the object. This is known as, we see things as objectively real, so solidly there. This is what quantum physicists and Buddhist philosophers both say that this is not true. What is really there is something very different from how things appear to you. So that, let's say, the quantum physicists from the double slit experiment, particularly the emphasis on the observer effect, and from the Buddhist, and the principle of uncertainty principle, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, the Buddhist philosophy of the emptiness concept, where everything is coming from the subject, not really from the object. We see that both these traditions, they share one commonality, one thing in common, that is the subjectivity. In quantum physics, the terminology is observer effect, observer, and for Buddhist terminology, it is the subjectivity, it is the subject. The subject, the observer is actually the observer, the subject. So, there's a tremendous emphasis on understanding of the subjectivity. Subjectivity, so when I say that, for example, say this water, when I say that this water, oh, sorry, this water is mine. When I say that this water is mine, I'm implicitly telling you that this is not yours. So likewise, when I say that everything's subjective, everything is purely subjective, purely coming from the subjectivity, due to the power of the subjectivity. Implicitly, I'm saying that nothing really exists objectively. So the emptiness of objectivity, this is the connotation. It doesn't mean nothingness. Okay, more clarifications for sure. You need we will do it later when you get a little more extra time. Okay, so the picture there you see there, and to the extreme, what is that? To your extreme, the left. That is His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Professor Anton Zelenker. I'm not too sure when was this, from how he looked. It was, I think, a little earlier, 1 or 2 years before my meeting with him. So he is, in fact, the one who is one of the world-renowned quantum physicists, particularly with the double slit experiment. And I was shocked when I was attending a conference in NIAS, National Institute of Advanced Studies, again invited by Professor C.C. Royji. So what I realized that there was one professor, very senior Indian professor of physicists, and he told me that in this world there were only 7 such instruments where you conduct the double slit experiment. Only in this world, only 7, and he is one of them. So the point that I'm saying is that most of the theoretical physicists or the experimental physicists who talk about the double slit experiments, they talk about it on the basis of the results coming from the experiments done by these people, these 7 instruments. Okay, so here is the double slit experiment. So from this we come to know the concept of the observer effect. And this morning, Professor Roy taught a little bit on this matter. Okay, oftentimes when I give teachings on emptiness, subjectivity, emptiness of objectivity, when I talk on these topics, I was always a little hesitant, and I was always a little reserved to talk on these topics more explicitly to the people until the person already crossed or is familiar with the philosophy teachings for about minimum 2 or 3 years. So here we are getting everything from emptiness philosophy, we are getting everything from quantum physics, we are getting everything from neuroscience and psychology. We finish in just 2 days. We are so lucky. Okay, so with this concept, subjectively, okay, just for you to get a little clue. Otherwise, for example, say this morning, the very profound talk was given on quantum physics, and then I could see that the psi, the pi, no, the psi, pi, psi. So this I will remember, and I was just imagining in the first place, how many people identified these two signs, right? And then what it really meant. Okay, so this is the complications, sophistications of quantum physics. So it is, in fact, I think that is very important for us to get a little clue as to what I'm talking about. It's about the emptiness of objectivity. Everything exists. They exist subjectively. So do things exist? Answers yes. In Buddhist philosophy, do things exist? Answers yes. Everything exists. Then second question, how do they exist? They exist subjectively. They are empty of objective existence. So this is the meaning of emptiness of objective existence, or the very popular concept known as emptiness. So for you to get a little clue as to what it is, let us say that, let me give you one example. Say, if you see a rainbow, from a distance, say 1 kilometer away from you, where you are, and you and a very young girl, or young boy, maybe age 3 or 4, is sitting next to you, and both of you are seeing this rainbow, beautiful rainbow. And this young child will ask you, please take me there. Please take me there. Okay, how many are going to take the child there? To the place where the rainbow is appearing? How many are going to take the child there? Nobody? You're so unkind. You don't want to take child there, okay. If you are very smart, if you take the child there, you're also a small child. If you take the child there, you're also a small child. Because while the child is asking you to take him or her there, it's because the child thinks that the rainbow is there, from the object from where it is appearing. And whereas you know that the closer you go to the object, the rainbow is not there, it's not really there, it will disappear. So in other words, from this, although this is not a very concrete, solid answer, solid understanding, but this gives us a little clue that, from the object, closer you go to the object, it's not really there. Right? It's somewhere coming because of the droplets, water droplets there, water vapor, and because of the sun's light and the distance, all these factors, play the role to create the vision of the rainbow. Now, say in dream, how many of you in your dream thought that what the dream was real? Not a dream, was real. Just raise hands. In your dream, you thought that the dream was real. Okay, in most cases, most of us, we felt that way. When you realize that it was not dream, it was the dream, it was not real, when you realize that? When you wake up. Okay, so in the dream, you see the so objectively real here. When you wake up, you realize it's just your mind. It's not really there from the object, it's all from the mind meaning from the subject. So when you say that this dream, I see, it was just my dream. When you realize that, you see that there is nothing really there from the object, everything from the object was empty. So emptiness of the objectivity is purely subjective. The dream does exist. Don't say that the dream doesn't exist. The dream does exist, but it exists subjectively, not objectively. Okay, in this connection, to understand this, just as I remember, first when I was in class 4, 5, I learned that solar system, the sun is at the center, and the earth moves around, the 9 planets move around the sun. This is what I learned. The sun is static, and the rest of the 9 planets, they are moving. This was what I learned when I was in class 3, 4, 5. Then when I reached class 9, The teacher said, even the sun is also moving. Not only the non-planets, even the sun is also moving. Then what did I learn? What I learned was wrong. So it was a very systematic, a very skillful way of guiding you to a more sophisticated concept later on. As a young child, age 3, 4, you will not understand that everything's moving, that with respect to what? This question. So that way, it's a very skillful way of teaching somebody to lead one to more sophisticated topics later on. So likewise, what we're learning here, say the 3 layers, in fact there are many more layers of understanding in order to understand finally that nothing really exists there from objectively. Everything's coming from the subjective. In order to get to that level of understanding, say the first one, emptiness of autonomous substantial reality, this is one thing, and number 2 is emptiness of externality. So this, number 2 and number 3, I may quickly explain to you one thing. Okay, say how, and of course keep in mind that if you know this concept, what's the benefit? This is what we have to keep in mind. Don't forget it. If I miss that part, I'm sure some of you should remind me in the end that what was the purpose. That is very important. For that matter, say the subjectivity. Subjectivity, it has so many connotations. For example, let's say the mirror and the reflection in the mirror. Mirror and the reflection mirror. The dreamy mind and the dreamt contents of the dream. Mirror and the reflection mirror. These two are not different entities. These two are not two different entities. Reflection is in a mirror, but the reflection is not a mirror. Don't forget it. The reflection is not a mirror, but it is not outside the mirror. It is mixed with the mirror. It's of the same nature. Likewise, the content of the dream is not the dream mind. It's a reflection of the content, the dream mind. Yet in the dream, we see that so external there, so real external there. When you wake up, you realize that it was not external, it was purely my mental construct, it was my mental, what my mind created. It was not really there externally, it was just like the image of the reflection in the mirror. So this is emptiness of externality. This is one way of understanding it. If you understand this, if you get this level, there's a tremendous benefit of calming down you, particularly this morning. I think one of the speakers, she's not here. Okay, so this morning, one of the speakers from the Western psychology, she spoke about all the problems nowadays. The problem of the stress, depression, and the suicide cases is increasing. So all these can greatly effectively be dealt with by understanding this concept, the emptiness of externality. Nothing's really there is external. You don't have to worry. You don't have to be afraid of. Right? Have no fear. Why should you have to have the anxiety and so forth? The reality is that what you are seeing is like a dream. So that is extremely important, the emptiness of externality. And then the number 3 is even more powerful. Emptiness of objectivity. So here, it is, for example, say, okay, here, how many of us here, say, have watched, in your life, have watched a movie in a movie theater? Okay, good boys and girls. Okay, so we all have watched a movie in the movie theater. So when we imagine that you're watching a movie here, there, watching a movie there. So where is this movie coming from? Coming from where? Huh? Okay, nowadays the projector is high up the sky. In the movie theater, where's the projector? In the movie theater, it's behind you, right? So the movie is on the screen, but it's not from the screen. Do you agree with me? The movie is on the screen, but it's not from the screen. The moment the projector stops, the movie on the screen stops. So the movie is on the screen, but it's from the projector. It's not from the screen. It is on the screen, but not from the screen. Likewise, all these objects, the water, the skin, all the horn, and so forth. These are there on the object, but no, they are not from the object. They are from the subject. Subject meaning the projected by own mind. This is so important. If you realize this, then the effect is going to be manifold more powerful, more effective than seeing things as like a mirror and the dream, mirror and the reflection in the mirror. Okay, so what I was saying from yesterday, what I was sharing with you was, say, the quantum physics and theory of relativity in loose sense. Okay, today, now superconductivity, superluminosity, and with these things, you discover that the quantum physics, the quantum mechanics, the principle of quantum mechanics is applicable even to the macro items. But generally speaking, quantum mechanics is not applicable to the macro world. So the macro world explained by the relativity theory, and the micro world explained by the quantum physics. So the micro and the macro. Likewise, in Buddhist philosophy, as you can see there, the two truths there, as taught by the Buddhist Shakyamuni, then later on by Nagarjuna. So the two truths. What is the two truths? What we could see, what we can experience. So these are one truth. These are known as a conventional truth. I don't want to go into too detailed. This is also truth. Don't deny this. What I'm seeing is not there. This says you are going to nihilism. So these things are there. But these things don't exist the way they appear to. This is the thing. They do exist. What you see is this is one reality, but behind that there's a subtler reality. Okay, so if I get time, we'll go through this a little later. Okay, so this is where the two truths, the conventional truth and our conventional truth, meaning the truth that we see, that we experience. This is not to be denied. So while you see this, there is a deeper reality there. For example, say, even if you're a quantum physicist, superimposition, the concepts, all these things are there, but when you go for a lunch is lunch. Right? So there, even you believe that nothing really exists objectively when you go for lunch is lunch. That subjectively existing lunch is there. Subjectively existing persons there. This subjectively existing persons can subjectively become hungry. So this is how we have to able to see things. So this is what Nagarjuna taught of the confluence of the two truths. Conventional truth, which is the visible truth, and the ultimate truth, which is the truth as seen by the ultimate analysis. So these two truths, the source of that was what the Buddha taught, that the form is empty, empty is form. Form is not different from emptiness, empty is not other than form. So what do you understand by this? Let us have something to take away. So let's say this water, the example that we gave of this water, or the flowers in front of you here, this flower, which is so beautiful. The moment you look at it, your mind simply finds serenity. So this is the reality. It is the function. It is the capacity to ease your mind, these flowers. Yet you cannot also deny the fact that these flowers are nothing but made of electrons, protons, neutrons. This is also another fact. So when you look at the same object, what I can see is a flower. If you look at the same object through electron microscope, you're bound to see just a bunch, millions and billions and pool of electrons, protons, and neutrons. This is a fact. The moment you see this object in the light of electrons and protons, your appeal of the object disappears. Do you agree with me or not? Appeal of the object disappears. So there, what happened to the object, which I see as a flower, where is that? For you, with respect to you, it disappears. Okay, with respect to you, it disappears. So what you are seeing, which made you to give a very different emotional state, there you are seeing something missing there. That object which you see as something missing there, this emptiness of the flower to exist objectively. That is what you're seeing. When you see that, your emotional state is going to be very different. And whereas you remove the electron microscope, you look at it with your naked eyes, you see it's a flower, then you can enjoy it. This is what you're seeing is the conventional trend. When you look at the electron microscope and inquire where this flower is, the flower disappears, that you are closer to the ultimate reality. So these two are the two realities of the same object. Those who, without the electron microscope, will see as the flowers, with the electron microscope, will see as the emptiness of the flower. These two are the two qualities of the same object, two truths, the harmony of the two truths. Okay, next is emptiness and counter vacuum as a substrate for the universe. So how, for example, say the Big Bang, and don't ask me how many Big Bangs happened, one single Big Bang, multiple Big Bang, these are all the debates amongst the physicists. So let's say, according to what we observe of the universe, the present universe, but the observable universe, according to with the Doppler's effect, with the observation, with the help of Doppler's effect, we come to know that, and then through calculation, we see that 15 billion years ago, the Big Bang happened. It may differ, some say 14 billion years ago is fine. Say 15 billion years ago, the Big Bang happened. So to extreme left, the white part, extreme left, that is the Big Bang. Big Bang. So from left to right, it is in time. It is the axis of time. So today, to the extreme right is to what is today. To the extreme left is the Big Bang, 15 billion years ago. So everything started from Big Bang. What is Big Bang? What's really there at the Big Bang? The quantum vacuum. Quantum vacuum. What is this quantum vacuum? It is total nothingness? No. It is described as vacuum, but it's a tremendous potentialities to give rise to all these wonderful things in this universe. What do we see today? For example, the light and yourself, the floor, the food, and the hall, and the traffics, quickings, backings, everything simply came out from this vacuum. So this vacuum is actually not vacuum, it's full of potentialities. Likewise, similar, not really 100% parallel, similar to this is a Buddhist concept of emptiness. Emptiness is not really empty, it's not nothingness. Within this, because of this emptiness, everything that exists in the universe, they exist. They become potent to function in their own ways. So this is the similarity there. Now, what's the difference? Difference between these two, quantum vacuum and the Buddhist philosophy of the emptiness. So the substrate of emptiness, which is the basis for all phenomena that exist in this universe, this emptiness, substrate of emptiness, and its derivative universe. These two are parallel in time and space. It's not that these two are sequential. These two are parallel in time and space. At the moment, this very moment, the emptiness exists of each and every object, and from this emptiness arises each and every object, not sequentially, but exists simultaneously. So there is a parallel there, whereas the substrate and vacuum, quantum vacuum, substrate and quantum vacuum, and the derivative universe, these two are possibly related. This in error of time. Okay, dependent origination versus quantum entanglement, non-Galilean teleportation. This is a very interesting development in the quantum physics. So parallel to this is one thing which was actually taught by Acharya Dharmakirti. Very brave. He made a similar statement that was 7th century AD. He made a very similar statement about two things which are totally disconnected, yet because of one object, the effect is felt. So that is something very important. This is where it would be known as the dependent origination, principle of dependence, or by dependence on these factors. For example, the two electrons ejected, and then the distance and the characteristics and what ejects on the basis of all these but dependence on these factors, then the activity of the non-locality is being felt. Okay, so this experience of emptiness, this experience, how we are seeing, what we are seeing now, and what's really behind there, the final reality, which is so profound. It's so profound, as the Buddha said, profound, this elaboration, emptiness is described as profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear-like, non-compulsive. Such a nectar-like reality is what I found. Find no one who can fathom this path in silence or retarded words. So this is the depth of the emptiness concept. But the good thing is that you don't have to believe in it. Just rationally go there and you'll get it. This is the beauty. You don't have to believe in it. You don't have to have faith in it. Just rationally go there, do the calculation, and automatically you will get there. It's like a derivation. You'll get there. And once you get there, the benefit, we will see that later. Okay, now I'll skip this part. Okay, so what is this emptiness? What is that like if you experience it? So it says that what emptiness is? Emptiness of objectivity of the object is the objectivity of the object. What is objectivity of the object? Both the traditions, quantum physics and Buddhist philosophy, both are exploring the objectivity, being very objective, nothing really there, this is the reality, nobody imposing that, we have to discover the reality. So what is that objectivity there? So the emptiness of objectivity of the object, that is the objectivity of the object. It's very complicated, I know. Okay, this is the place, for example, say the reminiscence of the past, now in the university, where all the brilliant thoughts evolved. This is just the remnants of that great treasure store. What can you say? So now, after knowing this reality, ontological reality, so what's the benefit of this question? So for the benefit, I have to, it immediately takes me to this concept. For example, say Newton, he talked about the relative space. And then Einstein, he talked about relative space and time. And then the Buddha and Nagarjuna, they talked about relative space, time and mind. So now the mind plays a very important role, the mind. So because you see the reality, the ontological reality, what happens is that your cognitive function of the mind is rectified. Your cognitive function of the mind is rectified. So the mind, what is rectified here is not on the object, it's on the subject. Subject-wise, your thinking is rectified. This is just for you to make you, the subject is very heavy, just to make it light. This is the Christian monks studying geometry and astronomy, it's very interesting. Okay, so now the point is, what is the benefit of knowing this subject? What's the benefit of knowing that objective nothing really is, everything's like a dream. Things do exist, but they exist like a dream. What's the benefit? So it says that when if you've been bothered, being pricked by the pebbles, stones, as you walk barefooted, then you may ask somebody, please cover the earth with the leather so that I can walk peacefully. So practically speaking, it is not at all feasible to cover the entire earth with the leather. Instead, if you cover the 2 tiny feet with the leather, that suffices covering the entire earth with leather. Likewise, thank you. Thank you so much for the reminder. Okay, so now the point is that we say covering the 2 feet, 2 tiny feet with the leather, that suffices covering the entire earth with the leather. Likewise, just rectify this perception, rectify this cognitive factor within your mind to see what the reality is, then all the miseries will dissolve. Okay, how? Cognitive process affects the affective aspect of the mind. So you feel happy, unhappy, stressful, tension, depression. All these things are the affective state of the mind. They are actually being driven by the cognitive process of the mind. When you rectify the cognitive process, automatically the affective side of the mind is being rectified. And all the stress, tension, so forth will go away. Okay, so the the type, not really typo, it is moving from one computer to the other. So it says, if you come to realize that things are all cognitively, if you realize everything is like a dream. So imagine that a young girl, this is what the Buddha said, a young girl, let's say maybe age 16, 17, 18, who was so excited about the opposite gender. Then the night, the girl dreams of a boy, or the boy dreaming of a girl in the night. And then in the dream, you have, let's say, you go to cafeteria together, and then you drink Coca-Cola together with the same glass. Yeah, same glass. That's no exciting with the same glass, same glass. And there's so much excitation is there, excitement is there. And the next moment, the boy collapses, starts to cough and collapses, and with the blood coming out from the mouth. And then the whole world collapses for the girl. The whole world is collapsing. So like everything is so gloomy, dark. The no meaning, meaninglessness of the life. Okay, this is what is happening in dream. And then this girl with the boy, not just the girl, is also just the boy. So then you wake up, wow, meeting with the girl is, meeting with the boy is just my dream. And seeing the death of the boy and then me becoming so demoralized and despair was also a dream. Wow, what a relief. This is a total freedom. This is a total freedom. So it says, just as in the dream of a girl, young girl, she met with the boy and saw his death. Joyous was she at the meeting and despair over his death. View all phenomena as thus. If you're able to see everything like a dream, you'll be free, you'll be able to transcend all the fears and miseries. Cognize the final reality. This will terminate the ignorance. This will discount all fears and anxieties, and then expand the happiness to infinity unconditionally. Okay, I don't want to read this Albert Science Code, which is so dear to my heart. So universal ethics, which is holiness is promoted so much nowadays, it is for the unity, for the whole world, for the finally, this I can't resist showing this to you. This is from the Flower and Dharma group. We have a group there, Flower and Dharma, Ladakh, from the main headquarters in Ladakh. This is a beautiful program, Confluence, happened in Chandigarh and Jammu. All the young boys and girls from the Muslims, the Muslim boys and girls, Buddhist boys and girls, Hindu boys and girls, Christian boys and girls, they all come together. And they were shaking hands in a confluence of all these young minds. I sat in that theater, I sat in that auditorium, big, huge auditorium, in that same place in Jammu, the same place, 60, 70 years ago, where Muslims from India, they were heading towards Pakistan. Hindus from Pakistan heading towards India. And so many killings were happening. The same place where all these young boys and girls from the Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, they were coming together now, so happily sitting together. The same place 70, 80, 90 years ago. Bloodshed happened in this place. If those people who are responsible for this bloodshed, if they're alive today, they will feel ashamed. What are you doing? What young people are doing. This is what I said. So this is the group, Flower and Dharma. I'm so proud of this group. So this is, look at these young boys, Muslim boys, making performance, and then they were all applauded by the Hindu boys and girls, the spectators, the audience, and the Christian boys and girls, Buddhist boys and girls. This is so beautiful program. Okay, finally some suggested readings. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for a very inspiring talk. Before I get a chit from the people there, I just want to make 2 comments, less than a minute. This is suggested by some of the things you said. I want to tell the audience about the importance and the role of objectivity in the sciences. You should not underestimate it. Scientific knowledge is a cumulative thing. it is beyond the capabilities of any single person. So as you know, scientific knowledge is something that has been built up painstakingly, bit by bit, or brick by brick. Therefore, and lasting over centuries, therefore we have to be extremely careful to transmit dependable, reliable knowledge and discoveries. If you go back in the history of classical physics, you remember the story of what Brahe did, what Kepler did, what Galileo did, and what Newton did. No one of them by himself could have created what they all did, and they were successively later and later in time. So the need for objectivity in science comes partly from this. I know it is important in other spheres of thought and activity, but I thought it's very important to tell the non-scientists here why it is important in science. The next comment is, you have talked about ultimate reality. I want to repeat that a physicist would be hesitant to talk of ultimate reality for the following reason. We always keep learning from nature. We never know what we are going to find as a result of new experiments tomorrow. At the end of the 1800s, some great physicists of that time said, there is nothing more to be found in physics. It is finished. Now we just go on calculating. What happened after that? Relativity came, quantum theory came. So this is the reason why within science, within physics, we are very hesitant to talk too strongly about there being an ultimate reality. But I understand it from your point of view. Sure, it has a meaning. Then I ask you a question which you need not answer. Can you tell us on another occasion about ultimate reality? How will you recognize it when you find it? I do not know. But don't try to answer now. Let us thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mukunda, and thank you for an interesting point to start the next conference on. I'm sure Geshe-la will be happy to answer that question. So without further ado, I'll request our esteemed guest, Professor Gulmohar to come on the dais and felicitate our speaker and the chairperson for this session. Right. Professor Mukunda ji. Venerable Geshe-la. We have a 15-minute recess for tea, and we'll gather back at 4:15. Thank you, everyone.